Some say our world might not be as real as we think, or it could even be a simulation. Nearly 2.5 millennia ago, the ancient Greek philosopher Plato began questioning our perception of reality. In his famous work, The Republic, written around 375 BC, he introduced the allegory of the cave. In this allegory, he describes a group of prisoners who have been chained inside a cave for their entire lives, facing a blank wall. A fire burns behind them, and between the prisoners and the fire is a walkway where puppeteers display various objects. The shadows of these subjects are cast on the wall, and the prisoners, knowing no different, accept these shadows as the real world. Some say this allegory is Plato's way of illustrating how our senses may only show us a shadow of true reality. The story progresses as one prisoner escapes and experiences the vibrant, colorful reality outside the cave. However, upon returning to share this truth, he is met with disbelief and ridicule from those still inside. Fast forward to 2003. Swedish philosopher Nick Bostrom brought a new perspective to this idea with his simulation hypothesis. Bostrom suggests that everything from the universe itself to our everyday lives might be nothing more than a simulation. He questions the authenticity of our reality, positing that if it were not merely code in an advanced computational system, then our fascination with creating simulated realities might not be so intense. The notion of living in a simulated universe gains traction as oddities in our world seem more like programming glitches than quirks of nature. Pinpointing these anomalies, or bugs, could be key to understanding whether our reality is genuinely simulated. This concept sets the stage for identifying 10 such anomalies, hinting that we might just be characters in the complex and sophisticated game that surpasses our current comprehension. The speed of light, remarkable and constant, stands as one of the most fascinating phenomena in physics. Its consistency and the fact that it cannot be surpassed seem contrary to physical norms. Despite lacking a conventional explanation, Robert Einstein chose to base these theories on this principle without attempting to justify it. Subsequent experiments have continually confirmed the constancy of light speed. This aspect seems unnatural, leading our current physical laws to rely on a principle that contradicts normal expectations. In the simulated world, however, such a rule makes perfect sense, as any system will require a maximum processing speed to avoid overload. This speed limitation effectively keeps us within the confines of the Milky Way, as even at light speed, it would take about 23,000 years to exit our galaxy, rendering such travel impractical for us. The expansion of the universe is another perplexing phenomenon. It is intriguing enough that the universe is continuously expanding, but it becomes even more curious when we consider that this expansion is accelerating, even surpassing the speed of light. Nothing should exceed the speed of light, yet the universe's expansion does exactly that. This seems deliberately designed to prevent us from reaching the universe's outer limits. It appears that a speed cap below that of light has been established, with the universe's expansion deliberately set to exceed this limit. The idea that the universe lacks boundaries is another extraordinary phenomenon. This notion suggests there is no external space beyond the universe. Without such an exterior, why and how does the universe continue to expand? Typically, without external space, the universe would be expected to stay the same. Its need to accelerate expansion becomes a puzzle. This conundrum could imply the existence of boundaries after all, and if so, one must wonder what exists beyond them. The universe is not continuous, and neither are we. Composed of atoms arranged point by point, much of what constitutes us and our surroundings is essentially empty space. Ideally, this should make us appear somewhat transparent. Yet we do not, because atoms are minuscule, densely packed, and beyond the resolution of the human eye. If we could see at an atomic level, we'd observe ourselves as assemblies of individual atoms, appearing intermittent rather than continuous. This discontinuous nature is not unique to humans. It extends across the cosmos, mirroring the structure of computer-simulated environments, which are built from binary codes, just sequences of zeros and ones. Similarly, our universe, constructed from discrete atomic elements, may also be a simulation constructed incrementally. This raises a question. If both our bodies and the air consist of atoms, why is there a clear distinction between them? Atoms form molecules which possess specific material and chemical properties, dictating interactions like why air and flesh do not merge, or why oil and water do not mix. These behaviors are guided by the properties of molecules. Essentially, the universe comprises atoms and the information that governs them, which dictate how atoms combine to form different physical forms like limbs, heads, or air, thus introducing diversity in what might otherwise be a uniform atomic mass. The Big Bang. If the Big Bang did occur, what was present before it? This is akin to wondering what was there before a system boots up, a question that physics struggles to answer. What was the state of matter, space, and event prior to this monumental explosion? The idea that something could emerge from nothing seems plausible only if there really was a void before, akin to a system lying dormant before its initial startup. If we consider our universe as a simulation, it inevitably leads to the pressing question: who built the simulator? Some say that every simulation must have its architect, a higher intelligence that crafted the world as we know it. Yet, this introduces the dilemma of infinite regression. If a superior entity created our simulated universe, who created that entity? This recursive query could go on endlessly, implying that our reality might merely be one level within an infinite hierarchy of simulations. Such a scenario challenges the traditional idea of a singular first cause and suggests that our grasp of reality is constrained by the limit set within our own simulation. In the realm of the very small, certainty only arrives upon observation, such as the well-known two-photon double-slit experiment. This concept aligns closely with how virtual environments operate. In order to conserve resources, a simulated world does not fully render every scene all the time. It only renders what is being observed. If something is not being looked at, there is no need for the system to render it, which efficiently reduces computational load without causing any perceptible inconsistencies. Our understanding of the world depends entirely on our five senses, which merely transmit signals to our brains, shaping our perception of reality. There is no tangible proof that the world as we perceive it actually exists. It is all based on sensory experiences and personal accounts. The American philosopher Hilary Putnam introduced a thought experiment known as brain in the vat, which posits that with advanced technology, it could be feasible to simulate all human senses via a supercomputer. This setup would involve a brain placed in a device, with a supercomputer simulating sensory inputs, making the brain unaware of its true environment. This experiment illustrates that while we may never fully verify the authenticity of our world, we can be certain of our own consciousness. Thus, if our reality is primarily informational and not material, it supports the notion that our environment could be virtual, especially since no concrete evidence backs the physicality of our world. Consider the way images and videos are rendered on a screen. They have a specific resolution, beyond which they cannot be further refined. Some say that our universe might also have a fundamental resolution, evidenced by the Planck length, the smallest measurable length, beyond which the laws of physics as currently understood cease to function. This quantum of space suggests that our universe could be pixelated at an unimaginably small scale, similar to a digital image. If true, this pixelation could be indicative of a simulated environment crafted with finite computational resources, much like a computer rendering a virtual landscape. This granularity in the fabric of space-time aligns with the characteristics of a digital simulation, where details are only as fine as the system's resolution allows. If our reality is indeed virtual, then logically, it must have been created by a superior entity. The presence of religion across human history could be seen as evidence of such higher powers. Some say religion inherently points to a higher level of existence, as it consistently involves beliefs in gods or creators, suggesting an overarching presence or origin. If we were not created by a higher power, why would the concept of creator resonate so deeply throughout human history? From the beginning, the notion of a divine origin has been embedded in our psyche, potentially indicating ancient encounters with beings from beyond our comprehension. This internal and historical drive to acknowledge a creator stems not from weakness, but from our intrinsic ignorance of our origins. Thus, the widespread existence of religious belief might not only hint at the presence of higher levels of existence, but could also suggest that our reality is a simulation. Yet, even in a simulated scenario, there is no cause for alarm, as such a world would be modeled on something fundamentally real.